Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Malice in the Mitten. I'm Tracy Preston.
And I'm Christine Mulligan.
Now, before we begin today, we want to let you know this episode is going to be a little different. Today, we are opening with updates on 2 Michigan cases we've already covered, Rebecca Park and Danielle Stislicki. And then we are moving into a developing case out of Genesee County involving human remains found on Willard Road in Forest Township. And we are doing that for a reason, because when we tell you we will follow a case, we mean it. When we tell you a victim matters, we mean it. And when a case may involve unidentified remains, we believe it's important to speak carefully, but also clearly, because somewhere there may be a family still waiting for answers.
And because this is an active and developing investigation, we want to be very clear from the beginning. We are going to talk about what has been publicly reported, what law enforcement has confirmed, and what questions remain. We are not here to solve the case. We are not here to accuse beyond the public record. We are here to tell the story responsibly. Well, for those of you that know me, as responsible as I can. You know I have opinions that are dumb, but I will try to keep them to myself.
And before we go any further, we want to recognize the person who brought the story to us. This case was recommended by someone who has become so special to us here at Malice in the Mitten, our number 1 fan, Tabin Rice. Tabin, we love ya, and I mean that sincerely. And this is why listener-submitted cases matter, because sometimes someone sees a story and understands that it needs more than a headline. It needs care. It needs context. It needs someone to ask, who are these people? Who loved them? And who is still waiting for them to come home? So Tabin, thank you. This one is for you, and it is for every family still waiting.
And before we begin, we also want to give content warning. This episode discusses homicide, missing persons, unidentified human remains, pregnancy loss, violence against vulnerable people, and allegations that may be disturbing for some listeners. We will avoid unnecessary graphic detail, but the subject matter is heavy. Please take care of yourself while listening.
And our legal disclaimer. All individuals discussed in connection with pending criminal cases are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law. Charges are allegations, not convictions. In the Willard Road case, the investigation remains active. The remains have not been publicly identified, and no one has been publicly convicted in connection with those remains. We will use careful language throughout this episode and will distinguish between confirmed facts, reported allegations, and unanswered questions.
And that distinction matters.
It does, because the truth matters more. The first case we need to return to is the case of Rebecca Park. Rebecca was 22 years old. She was pregnant. She was close to delivering her baby. And in November of 2025, she disappeared. Her remains were later found in the Manistee National Forest. In the months since, the criminal case against Courtney Bartholomew and Bradley Bartholomew has continued through the courts. Courtney was Rebecca's biological mother. Bradley was Courtney's husband. Both have been charged in connection with Rebecca's death and the death of her unborn child. And I want to pause right there, because this is where we have to stay disciplined. Charges are not convictions. Court filings are not final answers. And as much as our hearts may want immediate justice, the legal process moves in steps.
Most of the time, those steps feel painfully slow.
They do. They feel painfully slow because the loss is already here. Rebecca is gone. Her baby is gone. Her family is grieving. And while the court works through motions, hearings, competency questions, evidence, and procedure, the people who loved Rebecca are still waking up every day without her. Now, recent reporting has shown continued court activity in the case, including competency-related proceedings for Courtney and Bradley Bartholomew. And that does not mean the case is over. It means the court has to determine whether the defendants are legally able to understand the proceedings and assist in their own defense. That is part of the system. It is also incredibly difficult for families to endure.
For family, it's not just paperwork. It's Rebecca. And I do not know why I am stuck on, and it's ringing so loud for me right now, when you said it is whether or not they can understand the proceedings. So I get that, and I hope that that is a definitive bar, because how can you explain that to incompetent people who are living out in the wild? Like, those are the kind of things that make me be like, what?
I know. Well, they have to be evaluated because I'm sure they're, and this is just me speculating here, I'm sure they're playing the game, that they're incompetent or that they don't understand or they're mentally incapable. So,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's the ick I get when we talk about the legal system. It's like some things get graded so hard. If someone is incompetent, they shouldn't be out living a normal life because that would make them competent. So if they have proven to have lived normal lives, they had homes and cars and they had jobs. If I remember correctly, I don't really remember what their situation was. But let me just say, before this happened and then after, because they covered it up, if I remember right correctly from our first story.
Right. They played.
Or supposedly.
Right.
That's theory. The running theory is that they covered it up for days, for months.
Yeah. Well, it was actually pretty quick. They didn't get away with it for too long. And this is the mother who. Now, if you remember correctly, Rebecca and her mom were estranged. Rebecca was adopted. But while she was, because she already had another little toddler and she was pregnant again and she was building a relationship with her biological mother. And then her biological mother came up with an alibi. She posted it on Facebook, like all this stuff around TikTok, something like that. It didn't.
Something that like competent people do.
Right.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Like the legal system makes things so muddy and gray that it sounds like it's a viable legal stance. But at the same time, it's like they are asking you to forget about reality that you have seen and heard and witnessed for everything else,
right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is not that long ago.
No.
So you're trying to say, did you lock them in a box for 24 hours a day, 360 days a week, 360 days a year or something, that you made them go insane and mentally incompetent? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I don't know the details. All I know is that this is what's going on. And so now, of course, they have to go through the whole psych issue and determine if they are competent to stand. So that's where we're at.
Okay, so I will try and behave myself, but I'm already annoyed.
I know. I am too. It's like, really? Come on. Now, for the family, this is not a docket number. It is not a motion. It is not a hearing date. It is Rebecca, and it is her baby. It is the life she should still be living. So our update on Rebecca is this. The case is still moving, the court process is still unfolding, and we are still watching. We said we would follow Rebecca's case, and we will, because Rebecca mattered, her baby mattered, and the legal process should never erase the humanity at the center of the case. Now, the second case we need to return to is Danielle Stislicki. Danielle walked out of her office in Southfield on December 2nd, 2016. She was 28 years old. She had plans that night. She was supposed to meet her best friend for dinner, but Danielle never made it. And nearly a decade later, her body still has not been found.
That is the part that always gets stuck in my mind. Her family has had to live with all these years without being able to bring her home, without being able to bury her or cremate her or any of the things normal people do to grieve their loved one. So in my mind, it's like they never have had the opportunity to go through the grieving process. It's like a grieving process on pause indefinitely. It's crazy to me.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I mean, as a parent, I'm a parent, you're a parent. You know, your child, where are they? I just couldn't even imagine. Could not. And that is why Danielle's case belongs in this episode. Because Danielle's family has had to sit inside that unbearable space between knowing something terrible happened and still not having the one answer they need the most. Where is Danielle? Now, Floyd Galloway has been charged in connection with Danielle's murder. He has not been convicted in her case. The case has moved slowly through the court system for years, with trial dates, motions, evidentiary issues, and legal setbacks. And again, we have to be careful. We have to say this correctly. A person can be charged and still be legally presumed innocent. Evidence can be argued over, trials can be delayed, judges can make rulings that families find devastating. And through all of it, Danielle is still missing.
So when we talk about these cases, it's not just about the courtroom. It's about the waiting. It's about the space to let the ones that are grieving the loss to wander into all the possibility paths in their minds. Like, some people, when their loved ones go missing, even if it's, there's signs left behind that there was some kind of mischief, they sometimes believe that it was a choice, or they allow themselves to imagine maybe they did just leave and they're good somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, it runs the gamut. Not everyone's going to immediately go to something horrible happen. But in a case like this, that's what it's about. But either way, all the families can do is wait until an answer is known. They just wait indefinitely.
Yeah. Purgatory. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So it is about the waiting. It is about families checking the news. It's about people holding on to hope and dread all at the same time. It's about not being able to grieve in one complete piece because one answer is still missing. And that brings us to the developing case out of Genesee County. Because right now, investigators are working to identify human remains found on Willard Road in Forest Township. And if those remains belong to people who were once reported missing, or people who are never reported missing at all, then somewhere there may be families who have been waiting for years without knowing that the answer may have been sitting in a place no one thought to look. So today we move carefully, we move respectfully, and we move with one message at the center of this episode. There are no disposable people. On March 18th, 2026, Michigan State Police troopers from the Flint Post were called to a property on Willard Road in Forest Township, Genesee County. The call came in a little before 1 o'clock in the afternoon. A new property owner had reportedly found what he believed were human remains. That sentence is simple, but there is nothing simple about what it means. Because most people do not buy a home and expect to find evidence of the dead inside it. They expect dust, old boxes, maybe damage left behind by the person who owned it before. They do not expect to become the person who makes a call that changes everything.
Well, that's a hell of a thing to find as a new homeowner. So he picks up the phone and calls the police. How does it change everything?
Well, at first, Michigan State Police described the discovery as suspected human remains. Troopers responded, detectives responded, an MSP K-9 team searched the property, and the first public updates were careful because the investigation was still in the early stage. But over the weeks that followed, the case grew. As of this recording, public reporting has not clearly stated whether those remains were discovered inside the home, in another structure, outdoors, buried, or otherwise concealed. So we are going to be careful with our language here. What we can say is that the remains were found at the Willard Road property, and investigators have not yet publicly released all of the details about where or how they were discovered. At least 4, and as of this recording, those people have not been publicly identified. No names, no ages, no confirmed causes of death released to the public. Just the knowledge that human remains were found inside a property in rural Genesee County, and that investigators were now facing the difficult work of figuring out who those people were, how long they had been there, and what had happened to them.
That is crazy, because once you hear 4 sets of remains, at least with me, my mind immediately goes to, were they all of one family? Were they all different people? Was it someone who used to live in that home and was a serial killer? Like, I mean, there's a million questions in my head already. Then there's also the heartbreakingness of it all, is that if they were 4 different people and someone was capturing them and whatever, and then concealing their remains, that means there could be up to 4 families somewhere who still don't have answers. But yet they're also on the devastating thought that there's 4 families out there that are about to get news that they've been waiting for but never wanted.
Right. And that is where this case becomes more than a crime scene. It becomes a question for every family who has ever wondered where their loved one went. Because unidentified remains do not just belong to an investigation. They belong to someone's life. Someone had a name. Someone had a birthday. Someone had a voice. Someone may have had children, parents, siblings, friends, co-workers, neighbors, or someone who has spent years wondering why they never came home. And right now, investigators are trying to give those people their names back. Michigan State Police has said detectives are working with the Genesee County Medical Examiner's Office, anthropologists from Michigan State University, and the University of North Texas Center for Human Identification. That work is being supported through funding connected to the National Sexual Assault Kit Initiative Grant Program. So this is not just local police walking through a house. This is forensic identification work. It's anthropology. It's DNA. It is the slow, careful process of trying to turn remains into names, and names into answers.
And at this point, has anyone been arrested yet? No, right?
No. As of this recording, Michigan State Police has not publicly announced arrests or named suspects in connection with the remains found on Willard Road. And that is important because this is where public curiosity can move faster than the facts.
Yeah, of course. I'm listening to you, and I'm not in Michigan, so I haven't heard the news about it and everything. So my mind is racing with, I wonder if there's posts out there where people are throwing names out of missing people. You know what I mean? Like, I can imagine the pandemonium that's happening right now. But at the same time, much like we've talked about on other episodes, that rumor mill is probably going crazy. Because you never know, one thread of information could crack open the case, like we say all the time. So they should be monitoring all of that chat that I imagine is happening. But at the same time, you kind of have to wait until they identify the remains first before we can talk about who's getting arrested, though, right?
Right. And, well, you'll see, we'll get there. But you would think for families in and around this area, if they haven't seen their loved one in a while, I would imagine it would just make them sick. Could it be?
Yeah, exactly. And for all of the people that know whoever lived in that house prior to the new people that may have found him, or maybe the new people are not really new people, they're just a different thread of the family. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But the neighborhood knows what house it was, the immediate neighborhood. I'm sure the immediate neighborhood is all coffee clutching somewhere, talking about who was there, whether they were shady, what they thought of them. Oh, they were the nicest guy. You know, like whenever you see on the news, when you do find out something about someone, and you're like, oh my God, you would have never thought. Or maybe they're like, oh my God, that guy was super creepy. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry, I automatically assume it's a guy. I shouldn't do that. But whoever left them there, you know? But then again, we don't even know where they were found. So what if it was a family of people and they thought, you know, the apocalypse was coming and they shelled themselves up in a bunker? You know, I don't know. My brain is literally all over the place with this one.
Yes, it is. So people want answers. Families need answers. Communities want to understand how something like this could happen. But wanting answers does not give us permission to fill in blanks that investigators have not filled in yet. What we can say is this: the Willard Road property had a documented connection to a man named Dwayne Reynolds. And so did another property that investigators searched in June. Dwayne Reynolds died on December 3rd, 2024. He was 61 years old. Now, he is not here to answer questions, and he is not facing charges, and he has not been convicted in connection with these remains. But according to Michigan State Police, both the Willard Road property and a second Genesee County property searched by investigators had previously been owned by him. But it is not the same thing as a conviction. So we are going to say this carefully. The remains were found at a property formerly owned by Dwayne Reynolds. Investigators also searched another property formerly connected to him, and the case remains active. That is where the public record stands. But the reason this story has drawn so much attention is not only because of what was found in 2026, it is also because of something that was reported 9 years earlier. In 2017, Michigan State Police received a report involving a woman who had reportedly fled from another rural Genesee County property connected to Dwayne Reynolds. That property was on Harris Road. And this is where we need to slow down, because what happened in 2017 is not the same thing as a conviction. It is not proof of what happened in 2026, and it is not proof that the unidentified remains found on Willard Road are connected to the woman who fled Harris Road. But it is a documented report. And now, because of what was later found on Willard Road, that report matters in a way it may not have been treated as mattering at the time. According to reporting from Clutch Justice, the woman told investigators that Dwayne Reynolds had picked her up near the intersection of Corona Road and Ballinger Highway in Flint. She was reportedly holding a sign indicating she was homeless. He allegedly took her to his rural property, and at some point, she ran. The available account describes her arriving at a neighbor's property without most of her clothing. She reportedly told the resident there was a man back there. The neighbors took her in. Police were called. An ambulance transported her to a hospital, but the woman left before being treated. And according to the Clutch Justice reporting, she did not pursue a formal complaint.
So the case was reported and she didn't want to press charges, or she didn't move forward with it because she probably was a homeless person and she was, traveling around surviving. So she was accosted and nothing was done about it because she was quote unquote viewed as a nobody, and nothing moved forward. Is that what you're telling me? Okay, I'm gonna stop myself right there because I'm about to go into the rumor mill of what I'm thinking right now, and that's always bad. So let's just say police were called, but the case never went anywhere. Because why? Do we know why?
Well, that is what the reporting indicates. Investigators questioned Reynolds. And his response in the available report is redacted. And I mean heavily redacted. A warrant request was submitted to the Genesee County Prosecutor's Office, but charges were not filed. The reason given was devastatingly simple. No complainant, no victim. And the phrase is going to stay with us through the rest of this episode.
Wait a minute, hold on. No complainants? Does that mean that they never found her again?
Yeah, she took off.
Okay.
Gone.
So she took off and we never went and looked for her. So is she one of the bodies in the remains? I'm sorry. Okay, I'll shut up now.
Because on paper, no complainant, no victim may be the language of a charging decision. But in real life, those words can carry a much heavier meaning. They can mean the person who ran did not have the stability, support, safety, trust, or stamina to keep engaging with the system. They can mean someone left the hospital because they were afraid, or ashamed, or overwhelmed, unhoused, exhausted, or simply trying to survive the next hour. They can mean that a person's inability to participate perfectly in a criminal process becomes the reason the process stops looking.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that nothing happened. That doesn't mean that nothing happened. And that doesn't mean that the cops shouldn't have kept looking. And why do you tell me these things, Tracy? Why do you want to even tell me these stories, Tracy? Because you just like to get me all riled up?
You know I do.
Ugh.
Now, it does not mean nothing happened. It means the system did not have what it needed, or it did not believe it had what it needed to move forward with charges. And we have to be fair about that. Prosecutors do have legal thresholds. They have to make charging decisions based on evidence. They have to consider whether they can prove a case in court. A prosecutor cannot simply charge someone because a situation feels alarming. But there is another question here, a bigger question. When a woman reportedly flees a rural property without most of her clothing, after being picked up while holding a sign that said she was homeless, does the lack of a formal complainant mean the concern disappears? Or does it mean the system should ask a different question? Not, can we charge this today? But, is there something here we need to keep watching?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
That is the space where the story lives. Not in an easy accusation, not in hindsight pretending everything should have been obvious, but in the gap between a closed file and a warning sign. Because in 2017, that file closed. And in 2026, at least 4 sets of human remains were confirmed at another property Reynolds had once owned. The two facts do not answer every question, but they do force us to ask them.
Yeah, like how about trying to take a new stance about believing victims and looking into crap?
Well, you want to know what it reminds me of? The Kevin Bacon story.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
These people called out for help, and then they're like, no, man, I don't want to deal with any of this, and took off. And, the police were like, okay. And never followed it up. And then here's Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know why you do this to me, Trace.
You know why.
Active. I'll just keep my goddamn opinions to myself.
We'll see. And this is where we need to talk about something larger than one property, one report, or one investigation. We need to talk about who gets missed. Because when cases involve people living in unstable or vulnerable circumstances, the danger is not only the predator. The danger is also the silence around the victim. People experiencing homelessness, addiction, survival sex, trafficking, poverty, mental illness, family estrangement, or unstable housing are often forced to live in a world where safety is negotiated 1 hour at a time. A ride can mean warmth. A stranger can mean shelter. A few dollars can mean food. And a dangerous person can understand all of that, Predators do not target vulnerable people because those lives matter less. They target them because they believe the world will respond less.
Yeah, and again, you're just trying to trigger me into a spiral of all of my humanitarian BS that I want to spew right now. That is such a hard sentence, and it rings so true.
It is hard, and it is important, because when society decides someone is difficult, transient, addicted, homeless, involved in prostitution, or not reliable, that stigma does not just hurt feelings. It creates opportunity for predators. It creates delay and doubt. It creates the dangerous assumption that if someone disappears, maybe they just left. Maybe they wanted to be gone. Maybe they will come back. Maybe this is just how they live. And sometimes, by the time someone realizes that person did not just leave, that trail is already cold.
And it leaves the ones that have family and people looking for them trying to convince other people to care about other human beings without realizing what it impacts you in the immediate. Everything that happens to everyone impacts us all eventually. Because in this case, in my mind, of my opinion, a woman was attacked, but because she didn't have the security, the stamina, the trust, all of that you mentioned earlier, to keep fighting in a system where she was just trying to survive 1 hour at a time. And the legal system, like we talked about before, painfully slow steps sometimes. There was only safety in her running even further and getting farther away, or at least I want to hope she had, because there's also the possibility that he caught back up to her. You know what I'm saying? So we're not going to go there because, I don't want to go spreading rumors. But I'm just saying, in the land of possibilities, if we would have asked more questions, because obviously there was something afoot. If we would have dug a little bit, whether there was a complainant or not, we may have saved God knows how many people.
Yeah.
And when we turn a blind eye to other people's suffering, and we just think that it doesn't matter to us because it doesn't affect us, eventually it may, because maybe 5 years later, your daughter was the one that nobody was watching for a moment. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And they became the next for people that are emboldened and embrazened, because if they get away with it with someone that wasn't being looked for, they're not going to doubt getting away with it the next time.
Yeah, that was easy.
Somebody's going to be there waiting.
Yeah, that was easy. Let's do it again.
They become emboldened because the rest of society turns a blind eye to people we choose to not care about, which is freaking bananas to me. And I really feel like you just brought this whole thing up to me so we could talk about this, so you can make me go crazy. And I'm going to try and shut up.
Cuckoo.
Now, okay?
That's what you say. We'll see. Now, families are trying to convince people to care. Friends are trying to explain patterns no one else bothered to learn. Outreach workers may know something is wrong, but not know who to call. A person may be missing from a street corner, a shelter, a motel, a camp, a couch, or a place where no one was writing down names. And that is why this matters, because not every missing person has a traditional paper trail. Not every missing person has someone who knows where they sleep every night. Not every missing person is a family who knows they are missing right now. And not every victim can participate in the legal system in the way the system expects. That does not make them less credible. It does not make them less worthy. And it does not make them less human.
Yeah, exactly my point. So when we hear that there's no complainant, it does not mean that there was no harm. It does not mean that we shouldn't care. It does not mean that we shouldn't look into everything that seems a little sus.
Right. It may mean there was no person able or willing to move forward in that moment. And there are many reasons for that, like fear, trauma, shame, addiction, homelessness, distrust of police, past experiences of not being believed, they need to survive the next few hours, or the simple fact that trauma does not always produce neat, organized, court-ready behavior. A person who has just escaped something terrifying may not sit calmly in a hospital room and give a perfect statement. They may run. They may shut down, change their mind, disappear back into survival mode. And if the system is only built to respond when a victim can perform credibly perfectly, then the system will miss people who are most at risk. That is not an excuse to ignore legal standards. It is a reason to build better awareness around them. Because yes, prosecutors need evidence. Yes, law enforcement needs facts. And yes, courts require proof. But communities also need memory. They need pattern recognition. They need people willing to say, something about this is not right, and we should not forget it.
Yeah, and they need to know the difference between saying we cannot charge this and saying, hold up, we should still pay attention to this. We need to watch this and keep an eye on this.
Right. Let's drive by that house a couple times.
Yeah.
And those are not the same thing. A case may not be chargeable today, but that does not mean the concern should vanish. A report may not produce an arrest, but that does not mean the warning should be erased. And a person may not fit the world's idea of the perfect victim, but that does not mean they are not a victim. So we are going to say this clearly. There are no disposable people. There are no throwaway victims. There is no category of person whose disappearance should be easier to ignore. If you are unhoused, you matter. If you are struggling with addiction, you matter. If you have been involved in survival sex, prostitution, or trafficking, you matter. If you have been dismissed before, you matter. If you have left a hospital, walked away from a report, changed your mind, gotten scared, gone quiet, or felt like no one would believe you, you still matter. And if someone you love is missing, even if they were living a complicated life, they still deserve to be looked for. Not eventually, not only when the story becomes shocking enough, but now. Because every person found without a name was once a person who had one. And that is where the investigation stands now. Not an ending at identification, at the slow, careful work of giving people their names back. Michigan State Police said detectives are working with the Genesee County Medical Examiner's Office, anthropologists from Michigan State University, and the University of North Texas Center for Human Identification. That matters because when remains are identified, the first question is not always who did this. Sometimes the first question is simpler and somehow heavier. Who are you?
That's the most important question, because until they know who the person is, everything else is nearly impossible.
Exactly. Identification can shape the entire investigation. It can tell detectives where to look. It can tell them who last saw someone alive. It can connect a person to a missing persons report, a family member, a dental record, DNA, medical history, or a place they were known to be. It can turn a set of remains into a timeline, and it can turn a family's worst nightmare into an answer. Not the answer they wanted, never the answer they wanted, but an answer. And sometimes that answer is the first step toward accountability. As of this recording, Michigan State Police has not publicly released the identification of the people whose remains were found at the Willard Road property. They have not publicly confirmed how long the remains were there. They have not publicly released causes or manners of death. They have not publicly named suspects. And that means we need to resist the temptation to race ahead of the investigation. because online people will speculate. They will connect dots that may or may not belong together. They will look for patterns. They will look for names. They will assume motives. They will decide they know what happened before the people doing the forensic work have had time to finish. But unidentified remains deserve better than internet certainty. Families deserve better than rumor, and an active investigation deserves room to become fact.
The most helpful thing people can do is share information with investigators and not try to solve it on the internet. However, I'm never gonna believe that all of that chatter on the internet is probably not beneficial for the investigators to at least keep an eye on. I'm just saying, because the rumor mill is where you get bits of truth. Just bits of truth, but it can actually help the investigators. But I hear you, and I understand. If you actually have viable information and not just hearsay because you lived 5 blocks from where this is, if you have actual information, please give it to the investigators and not to the troll bots online.
Absolutely. Because maybe someone listening knows something. Maybe someone remembers a person who disappeared from Flint, Forest Township, Genesee County, or the surrounding area. Maybe someone remembers a woman who was living unhoused near Corona Road and Ballinger Highway in 2017. Maybe someone remembers someone who accepted rides, stayed with strangers, moved between shelters, motels, camps, couches, or rural properties. Maybe someone had a loved one whose life was complicated, and because of that, they were told to wait, or they were made to feel like their concern did not matter. If that is you, please hear me. Your concern matters. Your memory matters. Your loved one matters. Do not assume your information is too old. Do not assume it is too small. Do not assume investigators already know. And do not assume that because someone struggled, disappeared before, used substances, lived unhoused, or had a complicated relationship with family, that their disappearance should be treated as less urgent. A complicated life is still a life, and a missing person is still missing.
That is an important distinction. Someone can have a hard life and still be in danger. And for society at large, if you ever see someone in danger, you should tell somebody or do something about it. That's all I'm saying.
Say something, say something.
See something, say something.
And someone can be hard to find without being gone by choice. That is a sentence I want people to sit with. Someone can be hard to find without being gone by choice. So if you have a missing loved one, especially someone with ties to Genesee County, Flint, Forest Township, or surrounding communities, this is the time to make sure there is a report. This is the time to update that report. This is the time to provide DNA if investigators ask for it. This is the time to check Name Us, to contact law enforcement, to call the Flint Post, and to say, I have someone missing. Could this matter? Because it might. And even if it does not connect to Willard Road, your loved one still deserves to be looked for. Michigan State Police has asked anyone with information to contact the Flint Post at 810-732-1111.
You can also contact Crime Stoppers of Flint and Genesee County at 1-800-422-JAIL, Jail. That is 1-800-422-5245. Tips can be made anonymously. And for families of missing persons, Michigan State Police also has missing persons resources and unidentified remains contacts available. If you have information concerning a missing person, contact your nearest law enforcement agency or Michigan State Police at 855-642-4847.
You can also email tips to MSP for missingpersons@michigan.gov. If a child is missing or abducted, call 911 immediately. For information about a missing child who is not part of an active Amber Alert, contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678. We will also include Name Us in our show notes as a national resource for missing and unidentified persons. This is not just a story. This is a search. As we close today, I want to come back to the reason we started this episode the way we did. Rebecca Park, Danielle Stislicki, and now the unidentified remains found on Willard Road. These are not the same case. They are not the same investigation, but they are connected by something every family of a missing or murdered loved one understands: the waiting, the unanswered questions, the court dates, the searches, the silence, the hope you are afraid to lose, and the truth you are afraid to hear.
And for families connected to the Willard Road investigation, some of them may not even know yet.
And that is the part that stays with me, because somewhere there may be someone who has wondered for years, someone who has kept an old phone number, someone who still checks unidentified person databases, someone who still remembers what their loved one looked like the last time they saw them, someone who has been told directly or indirectly that because their loved one struggled or lived unhoused, or battled addiction, or moved around, or lived a complicated life, maybe they were just gone by choice. But a complicated life is still a life. A hard life is still a life. And no one becomes less worthy of being searched for because their story is difficult to tell. There are no disposable people. There are no throwaway victims. There are no missing persons who matter less because the world found them easier to overlook.
And if someone listening has information, even if it feels small, this is the time to share it. Call investigators.
If you have information connected to the Willard Road investigation, or if you have a missing loved one with ties to Flint, Genesee County, Forest Township, or surrounding areas, please contact law enforcement. And as this case continues, we will keep watching for Rebecca, Danielle, and for the people found on Willard Road, for the family still searching, and for anyone who has ever been made to feel their loved one was too complicated to matter. They matter here, and they always will. I'm Tracy Preston.
And I'm Christine Milligan.
And this is Malice in the Mitten,
where the story matters,
but the truth matters more.
Like and subscribe. Hit all those stars and hearts wherever you need to on whatever you're listening to us on.
Do what Christine says, or else you'll get her riled up.
Bye.
Bye.